Included with your videotape is a course index. This contains reference numbers which will allow you to quickly access sections and topics with ease. In order to use this, you should reset the counter on your VCR to 0 now.
If you depend on computers and software, ViaGrafix is the right choice for you. When you use video training, you learn faster, retain more, and perform better at your computer. And best of all, less time at your computer means more time for you and the things that are really important. This videotape is designed to help you learn your software quickly and efficiently. Follow these 3 easy steps to get the most from this tape. First, watch the entire video all the way through. Second, watch the tape again, this time in 2 to 10-minute sections. Be sure to take your time to stop and practice the exercises or concepts on this video. To help you with this, we've inserted pauses into the tape. When you see this screen and hear this music, this is a suggested spot for you to stop or pause the tape. We recommend that you practice your computer skills at the pause points. Finally, rewind and refer back to the tape. You can do this as often as you need to. The video is divided into chapters so you can easily find the areas where you need to review. You may continue the process until you master the concepts. Most ViaGrafix training tapes also include a learning disc. You may use the sample data files on this disc to build your confidence by practicing on your own computer what you've learned from the video. The disc files are designed to work with software applications and will not run by themselves. ViaGrafix offers the most comprehensive collection of computer video training tapes available, from beginning to advanced levels. Please let us know how these videos work for you. Your comments are welcome and do make a difference. Let video training make the difference for you. Thank you for choosing a ViaGrafix training video. Now, more than ever, keeping up with the world means keeping up with computer technology and software. ViaGrafix, the leader in video training services, is proud to present this video tutorial.
Hello, and welcome to this video tutorial, Programming in Visual C++ Secrets and Timesavers. I'm Justin Shook along with Lisa Forrester.
The Microsoft Visual C++ development system for Windows 95 and Windows NT is an integrated development environment for C and C++ applications with support for multi-platform and cross-platform development.
It includes a C++ application framework, the Microsoft Foundation class library, which simplifies the development of applications for Windows as well as the porting of applications to multiple platforms.
We can easily develop an application for Windows on one platform using Visual C++ and Microsoft Foundation Class Library, or MFC, and then use the same code to build applications for other platforms.
This video will show you helpful secrets and timesavers while working with Visual C++. These secrets and timesavers will make things seem a lot easier and make your programming with Visual C++ a lot more efficient.
In this video, we will cover techniques and keystrokes we can use that will save us time when working in certain areas of Visual C++.
We'll begin learning about time-saving techniques in the main screen area of Visual C++. We'll learn about toolbars and toolbar buttons. We'll undock and dock toolbars and also move, remove, and add buttons to toolbars.
Then we'll examine ways of opening applications and building them. We'll also discuss ways of stopping and restarting a build. Next, we'll examine the different views on our screen and how to access them with a keyboard.
We'll use F1 to view types of errors and gain more information on items in our code. Then we'll discuss editing techniques when editing through source code. We'll learn about the info viewer and some time-saving techniques there.
We'll demonstrate how to move through hot links and also how to view previously viewed info viewer topics. We'll learn about bookmarks and how to add and access them. Then we'll demonstrate time-saving techniques to use with Visual C++'s debugger.
We'll examine several shortcut keystrokes and open various windows in the debugger using the Alt key. Next, we'll learn many shortcuts when editing a dialog resource.
We'll create a new dialog resource, create new buttons, and use Timesavers to manipulate these controls. We'll learn about time-saving keystrokes when using C++'s image editor.
Finally, we'll demonstrate quick ways to access C++'s drawing tools, such as the line, fill, and erase tools. For this tutorial, we have provided a learning disk with sample files that will be referred to throughout this video and can only be used within the applications. If you would like to try the following exercises with us, please copy the ViaGrafix learning disk onto your computer's hard drive using the following commands.
Place the learning disk in the proper drive. Ours is A. Right-click on the Start button and open the Windows Explorer. First, click on the C drive. Next, we click File, then through the new menu we choose Folder. We name our folder. In our case, we'll type ViaGrafix and press Enter. We click the A: icon. In the right Explorer pane, we drag and drop the folder that appears onto the ViaGrafix folder we created. The files are copied. To verify this, we click the ViaGrafix folder and see the folder we just copied. Let's close the Explorer and return to the Windows 95 desktop.
Before we get started, there are sections at the end of each chapter concerning the time-saving techniques that we'll learn.
We will briefly recap each time saver we learned in that chapter, so if you miss one, all you have to do is go to the end of that chapter and find what you missed.
In this chapter, we're going to take a look at Visual C++'s main screen shortcuts and timesavers.
Don't worry if you miss one or two. Remember, with ViaGrafix, you can always stop, rewind the tape, and play it again. Let's get started. First, we click the Start button. Then through Programs and Microsoft Visual C++, we click Microsoft Developer Studio. Developer Studio opens and will close the tip of the day box. The first item we'll be talking about is toolbars. Now Visual C++ has many toolbars and most of them are customizable. To gain access to all the toolbars, we move our mouse pointer and place it anywhere on a toolbar. Now let's right-click our mouse button. We see a pop-up menu with a list of views, toolbars, and customizable options. Let's click Standard from the list. Notice it has a check by it. When we click it, the standard toolbar disappears from our screen. Let's right-click again on any toolbar. Notice now that Standard does not have a check by it. Whatever has a check is a toolbar that is displayed on screen. Let's click Standard once more and we see the Standard toolbar appear again. We can undock a dockable toolbar by double-clicking on a blank area of the toolbar itself. We can return the toolbar back to its previous position by double-clicking its title bar.
Adding and removing buttons from toolbars is easy. This allows us to place buttons on toolbars that we use most.
We can move buttons around if we want to by holding down the Alt key, then clicking and dragging the button to its new position. We can add or remove buttons from the toolbars by right-clicking our mouse on a toolbar and choosing Customize from the pop-up menu. We see the Customize dialog box with categories located to the left and the different buttons located to the right. To see a description of the button, we click the particular button and look near the bottom of the dialog box. We can remove buttons by clicking a button from any toolbar, dragging it from the toolbar, and releasing it in our workspace. We add buttons by selecting a category from the Customize dialog box, clicking on the button we want to add and dragging it to the desired toolbar. Let's open a sample application from our Learning folder. To quickly open an existing document, we press Ctrl plus F12. At the Open dialog box, we locate our Learning folder and double-click the AppWiz SDI folder. Change the file of type to Project Workspaces. Now we'll double-click AppWiz SDI. Let's expand the folders in the Class View, Resource View, and File View sections. Now we'll rebuild the application. We open the Build menu and select Rebuild All. Anytime during the build process we need to stop it, we can press Ctrl plus Break. To continue, we open the Build menu and select Rebuild All again. The application builds with no warnings or errors. To execute the application, we press Ctrl plus F5. Let's kill the application by clicking the Close button in the upper right of the application's dialog box. If we made any changes to our source code, we can simply press F7 to build only the files we changed. With the File View button selected, double-click the AppWiz SDI.cpp file. Let's make a change to purposely cause an error to appear. We'll scroll down to the end of the file, and at the last line of code, we place our insertion point at the very end. We'll press the backspace key to delete the semicolon. Now we press F7 to build this file. Notice that we have one error. Right now the focus in our project workspace is in the Info Viewer topic window. We can activate or place the cursor's focus in the output window by pressing Alt plus 2. We can activate or place the cursor's focus in the project workspace window by pressing Alt plus 0. To return to the Info Viewer topic window, we press Alt plus 1. Let's move to the output window. We press Alt plus 2. In the output window, we see the error that occurred when our application was built. We place our cursor in the error number that was returned to us. Now let's press F1. This gives us a more detailed explanation for this build error. In our case, we have a simple syntax error. Let's correct it. We double-click the error line, and this takes us directly to the position or in the general area of the error. We place our cursor at the end of the last line of code and type the semicolon that we deleted earlier. Now let's press F7 to rebuild the app. And now we see the build with no errors.
Let's go back to our code and learn some editing techniques.
We'll begin with our cursor at the end of the line we just corrected. To get to the beginning of this line, we can press the Home key. To get back to the end of the line, we press the End key. We can move to the beginning of the code page by pressing Ctrl plus Home. In reverse, we can move to the end of the code page by pressing Ctrl plus End. Let's go back to the beginning of the page by pressing Ctrl plus Home. Now let's highlight the first number include text. To find the next occurrence of this text, we press Ctrl plus F3. With our insertion point at the beginning of the current line, we press Ctrl plus L to delete the current line. Now let's press Ctrl plus Z. This undoes the last action we performed. We can move to a different line in our code by pressing Ctrl plus G. At the dialog box that appears, we select 1 as the line number and click Go To. Now we click the Close button. We scroll up and see that line number 1 is highlighted. We can move items that are highlighted by clicking on the highlight and dragging the item to a new position. We'll move the highlighted line down 1. We'll press Ctrl+Z to return the line to its previous position. We can also copy highlighted items. With the first line still highlighted, we press Ctrl as we drag the item down one position. When we release the mouse, we see the copy appear. We press Ctrl+Z to return our code to its previous state. We can quickly jump into an included header file with a few clicks of the mouse. Let's try it. We place our insertion point inside the first number include line. Now let's right-click our mouse. At the pop-up menu that appears, we select Open and we are able to view the header file.
Sometimes we need a little extra help when working with programming commands and code. Visual C++ makes it easy to get help anytime we need it.
Let's place our cursor in the first number include text. If we need to find out more information on this particular command, we simply press F1. We now see the Info Viewer topic window activated with a number of helpful items. First, it tells us all about the number include directive. It also gives us examples of the correct way or the syntax to use the command.
Here are all the time-saving keystrokes we covered in this chapter.
Ctrl+F12 opens an existing document. Ctrl+Break stops a build in progress. Ctrl+F5 executes a clean application. F7 builds only files that have been modified. Alt+2 places cursor's focus in the output window. Alt+0 places cursor's focus in the project workspace window. Alt+1 places cursor's focus in the Info Viewer topic window. F1 get detailed explanation for build errors when cursor is placed in the error number. Home places cursor's position at the beginning of line of text or code. End places cursor's position at the end of line of text or code. Ctrl+Home moves us to the beginning of a page or file. Ctrl+End moves us to the end of a page or file. Ctrl+F3 finds the next occurrence of highlighted text or code. Ctrl+L deletes current line of text or code. Ctrl+Z undoes our last action performed. Ctrl+G allows us to move to a specific line. Control copies a highlighted item while dragging and dropping in a new position.
You may pause the tape now to practice on your computer.
Let's review what we have covered in this chapter. We began learning about time-saving techniques in the main screen area of Visual C++.
We learned about toolbars and toolbar buttons. We undocked and docked toolbars and also learned to move, remove, and add buttons to toolbars.
Next, we examined ways of opening applications and building them. We also discussed ways of stopping and restarting a build.
We discussed the different views on our screen and how to access them with the keyboard. We used F1 to view types of errors and gain more information on items in our code.
Finally, we learned editing techniques to use when editing through source code. Then we briefly recapped the time-saving keystrokes we used.
In this chapter, we're going to learn time-saving techniques with the Info Viewer as well as the debugger.
The Info Viewer in Visual C++ contains a wealth of information right at our fingertips. Experienced programmers will tell you that you will use the Info Viewer in many instances to see correct syntax for source code and programming techniques to define and help with error messages.
Traveling through Info Viewer can get tedious, but with the right keystrokes, the journey can be a pleasant one. Let's check it out.
With the Info Viewer on our screen as we left it in Chapter 1, we'll press Ctrl+Home to position ourselves at the beginning of the file. We can press Tab to move our position to the next hot link in this particular topic. This hot link simply gives us more information on elements relating to the topic in the Info Viewer. Let's click this hot link. We now see an informative box appear, giving us more info on the topic. To close this hot link box, we simply click our mouse button anywhere in the Info Viewer. We can move the Info Viewer topic to the previously viewed topic. We press Ctrl plus B and the topic is now telling us about the syntax error we had viewed earlier. You might find it easy to use bookmarks when working with the info viewer. A bookmark is exactly what you think it is, a bookmark to frequently access topics in the info viewer. We can use both named and unnamed bookmarks. Named bookmarks are saved between editing sessions. Once we create a named bookmark, we are able to jump to that location whether the file is open or not. Named bookmarks store both the line number and the column number of the location of the cursor when the bookmark was created. This location is adjusted whenever we edit the file. Even if we delete the characters around the bookmark remains in the correct location. Unnamed bookmarks are temporary. They are removed when the file containing them is closed or reloaded. Unnamed bookmarks store only the current line, not the column offset of the cursor. When a line containing an unnamed bookmark is deleted, the bookmark is also removed. We can jump to an unnamed bookmark by activating the file and using either the bookmark next or the bookmark previous command. The advantage of unnamed bookmarks is that they are very easy to set and they provide us with visible feedback in the selection margin of our document. We press Ctrl plus Shift plus B. We now see the Add Bookmark dialog box. We'll keep the default name and click OK. With the file view displayed, we double-click appwiz.sdi.cpp. To get back to our bookmark, we open the Edit menu and choose Info Viewer Bookmarks. From the Info Viewer Bookmarks dialog box, let's double-click the bookmark we created and see the information we bookmarked appear in the Info Viewer topic window. Let's turn our attention to the debugger. As we all know, the debugger helps us locate bugs in an executable program, dynamic link library thread, or OLE client or server.
Let's take a look at some time-saving techniques to use when debugging.
With our AppWiz SDI application still loaded, let's open the Build menu and choose Rebuild All. Now with our file view displayed, let's double-click appwiz.sdi.cpp. Let's place our insertion point in the doModal function. We can use the Step Into function by pressing F11. Stepping into a function means we can single step through instructions or the code in applications and enter each function call that is encountered. We can step over a function by pressing F10. Now we can step through source code one statement at a time. Stepping over a function allows us to step through our source code one statement at a time in a chosen function, starting from a breakpoint without entering any other functions. We can step out of a function by pressing Shift plus F11. This saves us a little time by not having to go to the Debug menu and selecting the option there. Stepping out of a function means that we can also exit from a function immediately and return to the line where the function was called from. We can also run to cursor by pressing Ctrl plus F10. Running to cursor is the equivalent to setting a temporary breakpoint at the insertion location. Run to cursor allows us to execute the source code as far as the line that contains the insertion point.
While in the debugger, there are several windows we can open if needed through keyboard shortcuts. Let's try some.
First, press F11, and then we can press Alt plus 6 to display the memory window. Using the scroll bars in the memory window, we can view any memory location in the program's available address space. By default, the memory window displays numbers in decimal, base 10, format. If we prefer, we can change the display to hexadecimal, base 16 format. Let's close the memory window by clicking its Close button. We can press Alt plus 5 to display the register window. The registers window displays the contents of the CPU registers, flags, and floating point stack. Using the registers window, we can change the value of any register or flag while the program is being debugged. One caution, though, is that changing items here can greatly affect the execution of the program. We need to be sure we know what we're doing before changing anything. We'll close this window by clicking its Close button.
Let's display a few more windows in the debugger.
Let's press Alt plus 7 to display the call stack window. During a debug session, the call stack window displays the stack of currently active function calls. When a function is called, it is pushed onto the stack. When the function returns, it is popped off the stack. The call stack window displays the currently executing function at the top of the stack and older function calls below that. By default, the window also displays parameter types and values for each function call. Let's close this window by clicking its Close button. Let's press Alt plus 8 to display the disassembly window. By default, the disassembly window shows disassembled code with source code annotations and symbols. The disassembly window can be especially useful for debugging optimized code, as well as source code lines that contain multiple statements. We have two more windows we want to activate while in the debugger, the Watch and the Quick Watch windows. Let's press Alt plus 3 to place our focus in the Watch window. We use the Watch window to specify variables and expressions that we want to watch while debugging our program. We can also modify the value of a variable using the Watch window. The Watch window contains 4 tabs: Watch 1, 2, 3, and 4. Each tab displays a user-specified list of variables and expressions in a spreadsheet field. We can group the variables that we want to watch together onto the same tab. For example, we could put variables related to a specific window on one tab and variables related to a dialog box on another tab. We could watch the first tab when debugging the window and the second tab when debugging the dialog box. Let's press Shift plus F9 to display the Quick Watch window. We can use Quick Watch to quickly examine the value of a variable or expression. We can also use Quick Watch to modify the value of a variable or to add a variable or expression to the Watch window. The Quick Watch dialog box contains a text box where we can type an expression or variable name and a spreadsheet field that displays the current value of the variable or expression that we specified. The current value spreadsheet field displays only one variable or expression at a time. If we type a new variable or expression in the text box and press Enter, the previous variable or expression in the current value field is replaced. We'll click the Close button to close the dialog box. Finally, we can stop debugging by pressing Shift plus F5. We can restart debugging by pressing Ctrl plus Shift plus F5. Let's stop the debugger now and return to the developer main screen.
Here are all the time-saving keystrokes we covered in this chapter.
Tab moves highlight to next hotlink. Ctrl plus B moves the info viewer to the previously viewed topic. Ctrl plus Shift plus B allows us to create a bookmark. F11 allows us to step into a function. F10 lets us step over a function. Shift plus F11 allows us to step out of a function. Ctrl plus F10 lets us run to cursor. Alt plus 5 displays register window. Alt plus 6 shows the memory window. Alt plus 7 displays call stack window. Alt plus 8 shows the disassembly window. Alt plus 3 places cursor's focus in the watch window. Shift plus F9 displays the Quick Watch window. Shift plus F5 stops debugging. Ctrl plus Shift plus F5 restarts the debugger.
You may pause the tape now.
Let's review what we have covered in this chapter. First, we learned about the info viewer and some time-saving techniques.
We learned to move through hot links and also view previously viewed info viewer topics. We learned about bookmarks and how to add and access them.
Next, we demonstrated time-saving techniques to use with Visual C++'s debugger. We examined many shortcut keystrokes and opened various windows in the debugger using the Alt key. In this chapter, we are going to learn how to use Timesavers when working with resources such as dialog boxes.
We'll begin at the Microsoft Developer main screen.
With our AppWiz SDI application still opened, let's open the Build menu and select Rebuild All just to get a clean build going. After our application is finished building and has no warnings or errors, we can create a new dialog resource by pressing Ctrl+1. To the right, we see the new dialog resource with the control tools displayed. We'll get started by clicking the button control and creating a small button in our new dialog box resource. Have you ever got tired of trying to place or resize a button and just couldn't get it right? Well, here are a few keys to take the bite out of that problem. If we press Shift plus an up arrow, we can size the selected control. We can use the up arrow to make the control smaller, or we can use the down arrow to make the control bigger. Still using the Shift key, we can use the left arrow to make the control thinner, while the right arrow makes the control longer. This gives us a way to size our control with greater precision. With our control still highlighted, let's release the Shift key and use the up arrow only. As you can see, this will move our control up one dialog unit each time we press the up arrow. Pressing the down arrow key moves the control down. And as you may have guessed, the left and right arrows move the control to the left and right respectively. The amount of control we have on dialog resource controls is virtually limitless. Now let's use some alignment shortcuts. First, with our button control still selected, let's press Ctrl+C. This will create a copy of the button. Now let's press Ctrl+V twice to create two copies. We'll randomly place these buttons around in the dialog box. Now let's drag a rubber band box around all the buttons in the dialog box. This will select the entire group. With all the buttons selected, let's press Shift plus F9. This aligns the horizontal centers of the selected buttons with the dominant control, or the first button that is selected in the group. With all the buttons still selected, let's press Ctrl plus left arrow. This aligns the left edges of the selected buttons with the dominant control. Pressing Ctrl plus right arrow aligns the right edges of the selected control with the dominant one. Let's deselect the buttons by clicking in an area of the dialog box. Now we'll delete 3 of these buttons, leaving us with 2. We'll move one button to the upper left and one to the lower right. Now select both buttons. Now let's press Ctrl plus down arrow. This aligns the bottom edges of the selected controls with the dominant one. With both controls still selected, we press Ctrl plus Shift plus B. This places the selected buttons along the bottom center of the dialog box. If we press Ctrl plus F9, this will center the controls vertically within the dialog box. Now let's press Ctrl plus B. This places the selected buttons in the top right corner of the dialog box. Let's click our mouse inside the dialog box to deselect all controls. Let's click on the Cancel button. We can display its properties dialog box by pressing Alt plus Enter. Let's change the caption so it reads, "This button will close or cancel a dialog box if initialized correctly." and press Enter. Notice that we can't read the text on our button. With the button selected, we can press F7 to resize the selected control to fit the caption text. Let's press Ctrl+D. This allows us to set the tab order of the controls in our dialog box. Let's press Ctrl+G once. This changes our working area to contain grids. If we press Ctrl+G again, we can display guidelines. If we press Ctrl+G once more, our working area has no grid or guidelines. Let's press Ctrl+T. This will run the dialog box to test appearance and behavior. We'll click the OK button to close the testing dialog box.
Here are all the time-saving keystrokes we covered in this chapter.
Ctrl+1 creates a new dialog resource. Shift plus the up arrow resizes the selected control, making it shorter. Shift plus down arrow resizes the selected control, making it taller. Shift plus left arrow resizes the selected control, making it thinner. Shift plus right arrow resizes the selected control, making it longer. Up arrow moves control up one dialog unit. Down arrow moves control down one dialog unit. Left arrow moves control left one dialog unit. Right arrow moves control right one dialog unit. Ctrl+C copies selected control. Ctrl+V pastes selected control. Shift plus F9 aligns horizontal centers of selected controls with the dominant one. Ctrl plus left arrow aligns left edges of selected controls with the dominant one. Ctrl plus right arrow aligns right edges of selected controls with the dominant one. Ctrl plus down arrow aligns bottom edges of selected controls with the dominant one. Ctrl plus Shift plus B places selected buttons at the bottom center of a dialog box. Ctrl plus F9 centers the controls vertically within the dialog box. Ctrl plus B places selected controls in the upper right of dialog box. Alt plus Enter displays the selected controls properties dialog box. F7 resizes selected control to fit caption text. Ctrl plus D allows us to set the tab order. Ctrl plus G cycles among no grid, guidelines, and grid when editing a dialog box. Ctrl plus T runs the dialog box to test appearance and behavior.
You may pause the tape now.
Let's review what we have covered in this chapter. We learned many shortcuts when editing a dialog resource.
We created a new dialog resource, created new buttons, and used Timesavers to manipulate these controls.
In this chapter, we are going to learn how to use Timesavers when working with resources such as images.
We'll begin at the Microsoft Developer main screen.
The first thing we'll do is open the Build menu and choose Rebuild All. After we have a clean build, let's press Ctrl plus 5. This creates a new bitmap image resource. By default, the pencil tool is activated for us. If we wanted to quickly change to the airbrush tool, we would simply press A. Now we can draw with the airbrush tool. If we wanted to switch to the brush tool, we press D. Now we can draw with the paintbrush. Let's draw a single line with the current size selected. If we press the plus key, we can increase the brush size by 1 pixel in each direction. If we keep pressing the plus key, notice each time our brush size becomes larger. In turn, if we want to make our brush size smaller, we can press the minus key. This key reduces the brush size by 1 pixel in each direction. Let's press P. This allows us to draw using a single pixel pencil. We can change the drawing color to the next palette color by pressing the right bracket key. Notice the color change from black to maroon. Let's draw a single line with a maroon color. To change the drawing color to the previous palette color, we press the left bracket key. Notice how our color has changed back to black. Let's use another drawing tool. We press the comma key and the Select Color tool is activated. This tool allows us to adopt a color from an image, then use that color. For example, the drawing color is currently black. With the Select Color tool, we click an area on the maroon line. Now when we move to a blank area of our drawing area, we see that we have adopted the maroon color. There are several ways of erasing when working with an image resource. Here's an easy way to do this. Let's erase the drawing area. We can press Shift plus P and see the Erase tool activated. Now we can erase what's in our drawing area. With our drawing area blank, let's press E. This activates the Ellipse tool with the current color and line width. We'll draw a small ellipse. We can fill the ellipse with color by pressing F, which activates the Fill tool. We fill the ellipse by placing the Fill tool inside the ellipse and click our mouse button. The ellipse is filled with a current color. Let's erase the ellipse. We press Shift plus P and use our eraser. Now let's press Shift plus E. This activates the Filled Ellipse tool. We draw a small ellipse in the drawing area and we see an ellipse that has already been filled. We'll press Ctrl plus Z to undo the action, and again our drawing area is blank. Now let's press Shift plus R. This activates the Fill Rectangle tool. We draw a small filled rectangle on our screen. Again, we press Ctrl plus Z to undo this action. We can press Shift plus N to activate the Filled Round Rectangle tool. This is almost the same as the filled rectangle except for the round edges. We'll again draw a small example of this. Now let's press L. This activates the Line tool. We'll draw a diagonal line through the filled round rectangle. We can flip the image horizontally by pressing X. We can also flip the image vertically by pressing Y. If we press Z, we can rotate the image or selection 90 degrees. Let's take a look at changing the magnification. We can press M to change the magnification of the current view. This will change the current magnification to the highest setting, either really big or really small. If we press Shift plus M, we activate the Magnify tool. We also see a small set of magnification options appear below the control box. We click the view and we see the changes take effect. Let's press Shift plus M again and click our image to return it to the previous size.
Let's take a look at a few more secrets and time savers in the image editor.
We can move, copy, or edit a portion of an image by pressing the S key. We press S and see the Select tool activated. Let's select half of the image by clicking and dragging a rubber band box around the desired half. Now we see one half of the image selected. As we said earlier, we can move, copy, or edit this portion. We'll move it. We place the pointer in the selected half and move it to the right. We click outside of the image and we see we have two separate halves of our image. If we wanted to type some text, we simply press T. First, let's erase what's on our screen. We press Shift plus P and erase the image. Now we'll press T to display a small text tool dialog box. This is where we enter our text. We'll type test and then click the close button. We see the text on our screen. Let's press T again to display the text tool dialog box. We can change the font, font style, and font size by clicking the font button. We'll click cancel, then click the text tool dialog box's close button. Let's get rid of the grid. We can toggle the image grid by pressing G.
Here are all the time-saving keystrokes we covered in this chapter.
Ctrl plus F5 creates a new bitmap image resource. A activates the airbrush tool. D activates the paintbrush tool. Plus increases brush size by 1 pixel in each direction. Minus decreases brush size by 1 pixel in each direction. P activates the pencil tool. Right bracket changes current drawing color to the next color on the color palette. Left bracket changes current drawing color to the previous color. Comma activates the select color tool. Shift plus P activates the erase tool. E activates the ellipse tool. F activates the fill tool. Shift plus E activates the filled ellipse tool. Shift plus R activates the filled rectangle tool. Shift plus N activates the filled round rectangle tool. L activates the line tool. X flips image horizontally. Y flips image vertically. Z rotates image or selection 90 degrees. M changes to the highest magnification for the current view. Shift plus M changes magnification for the current view. S activates the select tool. T activates the text tool. G toggles image grid on and off. Let's review what we have covered in this chapter. We learned about time-saving keystrokes when using C++'s image editor.
We demonstrated quick ways to access the drawing tools, such as the line, fill, and erase.
Let's close down Visual C++. We open the File menu and choose Exit. Answer No at the Save Changes prompt. Visual C++ shuts down and we are returned to the Windows 95 desktop. We have finished the Programming in Visual C++ Secrets and Timesavers tutorial. Now we can remove the ViaGrafix learning folder using the following method. To delete the learning files from the hard drive, right-click the Start button and open the Explorer. Next, highlight the ViaGrafix learning folder, then press and hold down the Shift key as we drag the folder to the recycle bin. We release the mouse, then the Shift key, and our files are deleted. Finally, we'll close the Explorer and we'll return to the Windows 95 desktop. That concludes this video tutorial, Programming in Visual C++, Secrets and Timesavers.
We've covered a lot of information in this tutorial. If you feel the need to review, simply rewind the tape and watch that section again until you are comfortable with the material.
If you have any questions or comments about our video tutorials, there are several ways to contact us. Our worldwide website address is http://www.viagrafix.com. For comments on this video or any other ViaGrafix product, email us at admin@viagrafix.com. For sales questions or to place an order, send a message to sales@viagrafix.com. We at ViaGrafix would like to thank you for choosing our company for your computer training needs.
Remember, if you plan to learn about Visual C++ or any other computer software, there is no better way than through video training with ViaGrafix.